to Laurie Faye Art. You might remember, or you might not remember, a few months ago I asked what you would like me to do on my channel, and a lot of people wanted to see a Q&A. So I left it open for you guys to ask questions, and ask questions you did. So today I'm going to be answering those questions for you. Question number 1 came from the lovely Shannon at Graphic Kraken. Now you might have remembered Shannon from Inktober. We were doing Birtober together, and her channel it's wonderful. Just go and check it out. She really deserves more subs. Her question was, what is an art style medium that you would like to master but you haven't yet? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I think the one that I haven't tried yet that I'm really dying to give a go is gouache. Now, from what I can make out, gouache is a mixture of, if acrylic paint and watercolor paint was to have a baby, it would be gouache. And I've never used it. I don't have any gouache. I don't own any gouache, because I look at them and I think, oh yeah, that's not bad for one tube of paint. What are you going to do with one color? So I've not dabbled in it yet. So yes, to answer that question, Shannon, it would definitely be gouache. As far as mastering things, I don't feel that I've mastered any medium. I just like to have a go, and I want to have a go at all of them. So the other one, I think, to answer that question with another medium, I'd love to have a go at alcohol inks. Now I do have some alcohol inks that I will be playing with at a later date. As of this video, I haven't even opened them yet, so I'm a bit scared, but I'm going to have a go. I don't know what I'm doing, and it's usually a disaster, but that's what art is, right? It's just these happy little accidents, to coin a phrase from Bob Ross. So the next question is from a supporter named Moonlight, with an extra O in moon. And the question is, when did you start posting on YouTube? Okay, so I started posting back in 2019, and that was when we were moving our house onto our block, and it was a vlogging channel originally. So I was just putting really terrible quality videos up on YouTube, and I didn't really have anything planned. I just needed somewhere to dump all my videos, because I didn't have the space, and I was putting them on YouTube. And then Inktober 2019 came along, and I thought, this is a really good opportunity. Maybe I'll give this a go. A lot of people are going to be doing videos. It was the first time I'd ever heard of Inktober, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. So I used a GoPro, and I strapped it to the top of my desk, which was really terrible, and I used that. And those videos are still there. A lot of the vlogging ones are gone. Oh, they're on private, but the first Inktober videos and the first videos that I did for tutorials on that are still there. So you can always go and take a look at them. So thanks for asking that question. So our next question comes from Jen's Creative Creations. Absolutely love Jen's channel. It's very calming and soothing. She does a lot of art, journaling, and mixed media sort of stuff. So go and check that out. Now, the question that Jen asked was, when did you create, or when did you start creating? And did you attend art school, or are you self-taught? This might surprise a lot of you, but I'm actually self-taught. Going back years now, when the internet wasn't a thing, I would hire books out on art and learn from the books. And yeah, that's how it started. It's just basically book taught, just doing. That's basically how I learned. Like, from being a child, sitting in the middle of chaos, colouring, right through my life, I haven't really studied anything. I've just had a go. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, that's okay too. Like, sometimes you've got to break rules. I'm all for breaking out rules. I don't really care about them. It's not a do this first and do that first process. It's a do whatever you want to do process to me. So I am actually a trained nurse. That's where my focus and my training went into. Also, I've done small business. I've also done teacher's aid, and I've also done interior design and decorating. So I guess a lot of those are creative in a form, but no Bachelor of Arts or university degree for this girl. So yeah, that might surprise a few of you. I think that a lot of you think that I've done this got this big catalogue of courses under my belt, and that's not so. I actually have never even done any. The closest to doing courses I have done is Skillshare. I think I had Skillshare subscription for about 4 months, and I did use it a little bit, but then I started finding that I wasn't really using it as much as I, for the money. I thought, you know what, something's going to have to go here, so it was Skillshare. I would like to get back into Skillshare at some point, because I really do think that that's worth it. Not sponsored in any way, but yeah, I just at the moment just don't have the time. So the next question is from my fan Winnie Studio, and her name is Harriet. She is an Irish artist, and a lot of her stuff is woodland, fairy, just like fantasy art kind of style. And the question that Harriet had was, she had a few actually. What or who inspired you to start YouTube? What's your artist or creative background before YouTube? What do I collect? And who is your favorite artist and why? Okay, so let's have a look. Let's break that down. What's your artistic creative background? Well, that one I just answered. I don't really have one. It's just something that I've done forever. So what or who inspired me to start YouTube? Now that sort of happened accidentally. The whole YouTube thing started because I needed somewhere to store my videos, so that's why. And to do the art on there, that was Inktober that inspired that. Now, what do I collect? I'm actually quite a minimalist. I don't really collect anything. I do have a little collection of feathers that I pick up, crow feathers, cockatoo feathers, galah feathers, you name it. So I do have a little collection of feathers, and I do have a little collection of cacti and succulents, but I'm quite a minimalist. I don't collect really anything. If I don't use it within 12 months, if I don't use it, wear it, or if it's not usable, I throw it out. And who is my favorite artist and why? Now, I don't really have a favorite artist. I find that I get my inspiration from other people's inspiration. So I watch YouTube videos, I look on Pinterest, and I look on Pixabay for interesting photos. I Google images. There is no real favorite artist for me. It's just, at the end of the day, I think I get my inspiration from other people, and just people in general that create pictures, just seeing other people just watching someone else paint makes me want to paint, you know what I mean? So I can't honestly say I have a favorite artist, which is, I suppose it's a little bit weird to be where I am and not have a favorite, but I don't know. The bigger names and stuff, they don't, like, I like to see people how they start, and then I like to see how they progress and where they take their artwork to. And that always makes me feel good, watching people when they start out. And it's not even the progression of the artwork, it's more the progression of them feeling better and getting more confidence to try different things, and feeling more inspired to do more, and trying different subject matter, different mediums, and just the joy that other people get. I guess that's probably my biggest inspiration there, as far as other people being artists go. So the next question is from Brushes with Beck. Beck is an Australian artist, and she's only new to YouTube, so I'm sure that if you go and check her out and give her some love and tell her that Laurie sent you, she will be 100% over the moon. Okay, so the question is, what is your favorite medium and why? I like this question. It's nice and easy. My favorite medium is oils and oil painting. And why? Because a few reasons. One, it's slow drying, so I can do 10 minutes, leave it, come back, do another 10 minutes, come back, paint it the next day, go over it the next day. You can paint over it, so unlike watercolor, when the color's down and it's dried, it's hard to lift it, or impossible to lift it. You can let oil paint dry, and then you can go over the top with a different color, and no problem. You can get a lot of texture with it, you can get a lot of vibrancy with the colors, you can blend them really well, you can, amazing stuff. I absolutely love oil paint. If I had to choose one and there was nothing else that I could use, it would be oil paint all the way. So number 6 comes from Weblight Dreams, and Weblight Dreams is a good friend of mine. We talk regularly off YouTube and she's just a darling. So her channel is unboxing and using different products and a lot of different styles of art actually. Her channel it's become quite fluid, and I love her work, and she's just an amazing person. So if you go and see her, just say that Laurie sent you and she'll be like, hi, because she's just such a friendly, warm person. So yes, Weblight Dreams. So her question was, what is the one thing that you would love to do art-wise that you haven't done yet? Good question. Probably have a gallery exhibition. I would love to do that. I have never done that. I'd love to paint a set or a series of paintings, probably in oils because we all know how much I love them, and even if it's just 4 or 5, and have a spot at the gallery. Now I did look at getting a spot at the gallery here at my local town. We do have like a library gallery, and I believe they're 2 to 3 years booked now, and that's probably even rolled out even further because of COVID and everything stopped. So 2 to 3 years, and you had to pay, I think it was ridiculous amount of money, and any sales that you made, you basically lost half of your money, which I know that's like for most of them, but me being not as, not well known, yeah, I don't know, and I'm not financial enough to just be like, here's $250 for you to show my work in 3 or 4 years. I just can't plan that far ahead. So I would hope that one day I would have an exhibition, or I'll be able to find somewhere, a spot that I can actually hire and have an exhibition, or set up a sort of gallery where people can come and view my works. So yeah, that's one of my lifelong dreams. Okay, another question that she asked was, what projects do I have in the works? So there are a few things that I plan to do. I have some journaling, you might have noticed by the little shorts, and a few little hints and tips, not hints and tips, a few little bits and pieces here that you might have picked up on. I am going to be doing some journaling, and I'm going to be doing some Create With Me, some tutorials, so we will be doing some longer videos. That's not to say that the time-lapse videos will be going away. They won't be going anywhere, but I just would like to interact with you more and just have more to offer for you guys, so that we can get to know each other a bit better, or so that I can help you and give you some hints and tips, or that kind of thing. So they will be a little bit longer in structure, my videos, coming into the new year. But I'm hoping that there's more information there for you to be able to grab and grasp, and more for us to talk about in the comments as well. Okay, I think we're up to question 7. Question 7 is by Stevie Biffin. Now, the lovely Stevie, I met Stevie last year doing Inktober. We were supporting each other backwards and forwards, and I did build up quite a good arty kind of. She was an art buddy, she's a lovely girl. She's such a sweetheart. And I actually, before I stopped my Skillshare, which I only had Skillshare at the beginning of the year, and I had it for a very short time. I did actually do one of Stevie's courses. So I just wanted to test it out, see what she was doing, and just to support her basically. So yeah. Stevie's question is, what inspires you when you go through a creative block? That is a really good question. I know a lot of people suffer creative block, and some creative blocks for people can go on for many years. I basically use my art as a therapy, as a form of therapy, so I very rarely get creative block. I tend to suffer more from a creative download, like my brain becomes so creative that it's overwhelming. So I can't sleep, I can't even comprehend, I rush things, I tend to be over inspired. So I want to do everything all at once, and I don't know, I think that's almost as worse than a creative block. And when that happens, it almost forms a creative block. It's like a traffic jam. So nothing flows. Like, I'm not happy with anything that I produced. I'm not happy with it. I don't know what art materials I want to use. I just want to use them all, which mixed media is a great release for that, but it's not very practical to have everything out on the table all at once. It just doesn't work. That's another thing. I tend to make a huge mess because I've got things started all over the place, and with that then I don't finish things and I get myself in a bit of a state that way. So even though it's not creative block, it does create a creative block in a sense. When that happens, I take a deep breath, I take a break, which I guess is sort of a bit weird when you're talking creative blocks, but I take a break, I go for walks, and I get myself back in the moment. So I might spend time with my dog, spend time with my chickens, I spend time outside. I find being outside is an absolute lifesaver for that kind of collision that I have going on in my brain, and I get myself back in the moment, and I find that that is the best way to unravel all that. And then I pack everything up, I clean my desk, I clean my space, sometimes I'll rearrange things. I find rearranging things helps a lot. And I don't look at pictures. I tend to have a YouTube break, and this may only go on for a few days that I need to do this. I'm not talking weeks. I'm just saying, like, it might be that I just need to have a week, maybe a week long break from not watching YouTube videos, and not just stay away from art for a little bit, you know, just to let everything calm back down, get back grounded again, and then I'm right again. And this is a bit of a rinse repeat thing with me. It's something that is personal, and yeah, it's very much a process, and it's my process, so we just have to work through that. The next question comes from also an Australian artist named Ella Personen Art, or Ella is her name, and Ella asked, which artist inspires you? Ella does a lot of animal art and stuff like that. She has a website, she's quite active on IG as well. At the moment I think she's taking a bit of a YouTube break, so, but anyway, check her out. And she asks, what artists inspire you? Well, that's a really difficult question because pretty much everyone inspires me. There's not really anyone that I watch on YouTube that doesn't inspire me. I love watching people that are up and coming, like I said before. I like looking at people's, like, their work from 10 years ago and then comparing that to a redo work, or doing like a sketchbook flip throughs and art journal flip throughs. For me are gold. I think they say a lot about someone. As for actual artists, there's not really anyone that I can say that I follow that is like instrumental in what I do, because it's such a collaborative of creative beings that I draw from. I guess one of the biggest things that inspires me is music. I find that music and listening to music really helps with creative flow. I can always give you my playlist if you want it, but it's probably very eclectic and out there for most people. Next question comes from Alyssa's Art Journal, and Alyssa asks, Alyssa does a lot of time lapse, very inspiring. The music's always good. What's the most memorable project you have ever produced? Okay, so probably the most memorable project that I ever produced was when I was 15, or I think I was 15 or 16. I decided that I wanted to paint my wall, and I didn't get any permission to do it. I just looked at this great big creamy coloured wall. We just moved into this house, and I set to work with some really cheap acrylic paint and painted an owl, an eagle, and this massive tree on my bedroom wall. And I remember my mum's face. She looked at it, and I think she wanted to get mad, but she really couldn't. And that was there, that stayed there for, even after I moved out, I think that was there for probably about 10 years. And they repainted the room, and obviously with that it went. The paint was that cheap. I remember it started to crack, like it was all cracking, and yeah. Oh boy. That's probably one of the most memorable ones. Another time I painted, I'm not sure that many of you don't know, I went through cancer in 2007. I had a thyroid cancer, a very aggressive form of cancer, which is never in remission. It stays with me forever. I just have to suppress it with drugs so that it doesn't come back. And I remember going through a lot of stuff in that year, as you do, and I painted this fallen angel. Now that fallen angel has been entered into various competitions and whatnot. I'll put a picture of it here somewhere. And it's off the frame now because the last place that I sent it to, they wanted to put it on a wall and they wanted me to deframe it. So now it's not even on a frame. So the poor thing has been stuck in cupboards, put in boxes. It's been around Australia, and yeah, so that's probably the one that stands out to me the most as far as on a canvas. That my fallen angel is probably the one. That was a very big turning point in the way I created and my creative process as well. Right, on to the next question, and that comes from Jovi from Creating with Jovi. Now, Creating with Jovi channel is mainly about journaling and paper crafts and that sort of thing, but it's a treat. It really is. Jovi has an absolutely addictive personality. You can't help but love her, and it's a real feel-good channel. So yeah. And Jovi's question was, what sort of creations do you enjoy watching and learning about on YouTube that I don't personally create myself? And that's a really good question. I try and have a go at everything because, you go, oh, that looks like a great idea, and you do it. One of the ones that I really like to watch is pottery wheel, and I don't have a pottery wheel. I've never even done pottery wheel work, but I really enjoy watching the process on YouTube. The other one is Sculpey work, where people are making doll faces and very intricate Sculpey work. So again, it's sculpturing and clay. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I don't do is a lot of sculpture and that sort of thing, but would I love to do it? Absolutely. The next question comes from a supporter called A2S Art, and A2S Art is such a sweetheart. They comment on most of my videos and have been around hanging out on my channel for a while. I love going and having a look at their stuff as well. So their question is, when did you start art? I think more of the question should be, when did you stop? And realistically, I've never really started. Well, I started when I was born, and the creative process has just continued on throughout my life. And I don't remember a time really in my life. I think there was a time in my 20s where I didn't really create much. I had little kids and a lot going on. I also suffered from postnatal depression, and that was huge. I didn't really create much then, but I do remember that, and I don't have a lot of memory about that time, about myself, which is really strange. But I do remember that I did get my first lot of oil painting supplies when I was in my 20s, and it was around that time or just after going through that process. So my oil painting was a really big crutch in my recovery from a lot of the mental illness that I suffered from. The next question comes from Art Flow by Mo. Mo is a pouring channel. Well, Mo isn't a pouring channel, but her channel is a pouring channel. And she does some absolutely beautiful work. Yeah, and the music's really good, and it's a real feel-good channel. And I often put her channel on when I'm doing stuff in my studio myself, because I like the feel of her channel. So she asks, she's interested if I'm married or have children. She's just curious if I have a large, busy family, etc. Right, so yes, I do. I have 5 children, but they're all grown up and left home. The only baby here is my fur baby Cookie, and yeah, it's like having a toddler. Boy, he's full on, but I love it. So I don't have little kids running around, but we do live on property, so there's always a lot to do. We've only been here for a couple of years, and at the present time we are renovating, clearing out our block from excess wood that was left behind, and trying to get it to some livable state. So there's always a lot going on here. There's never nothing to do. The heat right now is making it very difficult to get anything done outside, so we split it up into a morning shift, and an afternoon shift is generally when I've got to get animals fed and all that sort of thing. So it's quite busy even though it is just me and my husband. I've been with my husband forever. I met my husband when I was about 12, and we met at school. So we weren't high school sweethearts, we were high school friends, and then later on we got married. So we've been together. We don't know what it's like to not have each other in our lives. It's been that long. As far as my house, I guess it's not, busy with children and whatnot, but my life is quite busy. And we do live out of town, so when I go to visit, for example, if I go to visit my mum or whatever, it's a couple of days trip out and back, and then when you get back, you've got to catch up on everything. And so I live a pretty busy life. People think you live out in the country and it's all, laid back. That's not the case. So the next question comes from Maureen at Victorian Studio. I met this lovely lady back in October 2019, and I've basically been following her channel since. Her work is beautiful, and she's just done Inktober with pumpkins and using pens. So yeah, go check it out, because honestly her work is beautiful. Also, she has an Etsy shop as well where she sells little miniature Sculpey key rings and stuff. So go and check that out. Obviously the best way to get to her Etsy shop would be to go to her YouTube channel, and her Etsy shop will be in her description in her videos below. Now, the question was, do you reserve your brushes for each type of medium you use? And it says, painting with inks, do you use the same brushes with watercolors and oils, etc.? The question, that's a really good question. I do use the same brushes for watercolor and ink, and that's predominantly because they're both water-based. My oil paint though, no. If it's an oil paint brush, it's an oil paint brush, and once it sort of gets to that stage where it is being used for oil paint, if it's a mixed media type of brush, it tends to stay in the oil paint area, because even though I do use a really good quality brush cleaner, I use the Chroma brand, the Incredible Brush Cleaner, and I use that on everything, whether it's been watercolor, oil, glue, whatever. I use that stuff to just preserve my brushes. None of my brushes are overly expensive, so any wear and tear on them is obviously a lot greater. If they're a more expensive brush, they can take a bit more of a hit, but these poor guys, they don't last very long. The Montmartre ones were being used for inks and watercolor, and I use those through watercolor month and whatnot, but I have just got some new ones, and I am only using those for watercolor at the moment. Whether they'll get used for ink or not, I don't know, because I don't really want to mess them up. So the next question comes from Justin Dwyer Artistry. Justin is an Australian artist, and he is honestly, he's a true blue Aussie bloke. His channel don't get me wrong, his artwork is great, but his editing style and his character really come through in his videos, and yeah, go and check it out. If I ever want to get out of a funk and feel a little bit better and have some humor in my life, I go to Justin's channel, because it's fantastic. So Justin's question is, what is the #1 piece of advice you would give an aspiring artist? Okay, so for this one, don't compare yourself to others. That's probably a really good piece of advice for a lot of artists. As artists we tend to do that, especially if you're just starting out and you're on YouTube, or you're starting to post your things on social media. Try and take that judgment out of it and just enjoy the process. Try not to get too wrapped up in where the process is going to go, and just enjoy what you're doing. Be in the moment, because I think what happens a lot of the time is people start out, they do it for a few months, and they're comparing themselves to other people that have done the same sort of work, especially the people that have a style and they have been plugging away at that style for years, and then the other person that's just starting to learn, they go, oh, my work really sucks, it doesn't look anything like theirs, it's I'm struggling with it, and they give up. And that's really sad, because we should be traveling in our own journey when it comes to art. We're all at different levels, we all have different ways to express ourselves, and we should be happy with that. We never are, as artists, we're never happy with what we do, but there has to be some sort of degree of give and take, and you'll learn that more as you go along. But yeah, try to take that judgment out of your artwork and just try and do you. that's probably the number one thing that I took away from when I was just starting out, or just, you know, learning. And that brings us to question 15. Question 15 comes from Damo's Paintings. Now, Damo, I believe, is a car artist, and I really enjoy his channel, and his work is amazing. Like, his cars are pretty incredible. They're very realistic, and yeah, his channel is very informative. So go check that out. Now, his question was, how did I feel after doing Inktober this year? To be honest, after this year, I wasn't as buzzed as I was last year. I found that it really didn't, as far as my channel growth, it didn't really help my channel at all. Did I enjoy the process? Yes, because combining those prompts with the movies and that, and the stuff that I did, and the editing process, I enjoyed that. But yeah, I don't think it went across as well, or I think it was more of a selective viewing, perhaps. I don't know. Me, myself, I felt that I had learned a lot about inks, but predominantly I felt a little bit burnt out by the end of it, and a little bit over it, to be honest. It was nice to have that week where I didn't have to do anything. But will I do it next year? Probably not in the same way. Next year, Inktober will possibly be just a few short videos, maybe one a week or something. I don't think I'll be doing one video a day for a while. I did World Watercolour Month in July, and then I did Inktober, and maybe that had a bearing on how I felt about coming out of Inktober. Do I feel like I learned a lot about inks? Absolutely, yes. It was really good to cram all that into one go, to like mass learn that way. But ultimately, I can't see me doing it again. So our last question, question 16, comes from Astrid Draws. So go check out Astrid's channel. Astrid is a big supporter, and we have conversations in comments. She often comments on my work, so thank you, Astrid, for your constant support. The question is, how long have I been painting, and at what point did I feel that I was beginning to build a routine of it? Okay, so for the first question bit, how long have I been painting, I never really stopped. So I started when I was young. I did what everybody else did, and I just didn't stop. A lot of us are creative when we're young. We want to paint, draw, colour, all that. And as we get into adulthood, we stop doing it. But I think my inner child sort of hung around, and I just have continued to do so. There was a bit of a break in my 20s, but other than that, it's just something that I've always done. And at what point did I build a routine? The last probably 3 years, I have pretty much done something creative every single day. There may be a day here, a day there, like I was saying earlier about my creative process, where I just get overwhelmed and I don't do anything, and I make a conscious decision not to do anything for a couple of days or maybe a week. But predominantly I do something every day, so it's not even so much as a routine. It's just, oh, you know, instead of sitting down and watching TV or whatever, I will draw and whatever. And I'm lucky in the respect that my art stuff, my art materials are easy for me to get, because they're all in one room, and they're in there with my computer, and they're in there with the TV, so I can sit in front of Netflix and just chill out and draw. So yeah, it is a big part of my life. It's less of a routine, and now it's just part of my life. So with that is 16 questions about me, and I hope that you really enjoyed this video as much as I really enjoyed bringing it to you. I hope you feel like you know me a little bit better now, and I just want to say thank you to all the support, and the questions are great questions, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!